Hello, everyone. This is Gruesome Herzog's Horror Movie Reviews. My guest tonight is director, producer, actor, James Cotten. How you doing, James?
Oh, man, I'm doing great.
Thanks for coming on short notice.
Hey, anytime I can get out there and push the movie, I'm all about it. And I was a fan of what you said about it. So what you said about Resurrection County. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you very much. Let's start. I see you did a movie. You directed it, Demon Slayer, in 2003.
Yes.
Now, what's that? I haven't never seen it. I was wondering, can you explain? What
I started off, and I went to film school in London in 1999, and then I finished up in the L.A. area, the L.A. Film School, in 2001. Roger Corman came to the film school, and he basically wanted to make a production, using alumni of the film school, and picked me to direct this movie. So I got my first feature, right out of film school, which is kind of unheard of, and I feel very blessed and kind of lucky for that. And I worked with some really talented people back then. Brandon Tross shot Demon Slayer for me, and he's gone on to shoot the Crank 2 and Halloween 2 for Zombie. He's an amazing DP, and a good friend, and so we got together. They had this idea of a story. I pitched them a horror film, and they had $300,000 kind of thing as a budget, and I said, that's great. I can do a lot with that. And then the next thing I know, the budget kind of dropped to $80,000. They told me it was about demon prostitutes, and I said, this is a Scooby-Doo episode, So, I'm very proud of that movie. I think that, there's a lot of, film students coming right out of school, and it went on and played on the Sci-Fi Network for, I think, 2 years.
Wow.
Which was great. That's what I kind of made it for. I knew that, the longevity of the movie is what's important. And, I decided to, play up, not get so much into the, it is a horror movie, and it is poking a little fun at B horror movies.
Right.
But in its own landscape, its own world. So, you make up the rules of the world and you let it play. And so I think that was a lot of fun.
I gotta check that out. Now, the next one you have is Sugar Creek.
Yes.
What's that?
Sugar Creek was kind of like a labor of love thing. I started off in Demon Slayer, and I was ready to do something that that I wanted to do. Sugar Creek is a western Sleepy Hollow in the South.
Oh, wow.
Story of a horseman that pulls a guy into a valley in a coffin, and the guy's shoeless and wonders about this field, looking for help. But the legend is that if you help the person the horseman's hunting, he'll kill you as well.
Oh, wow.
So everybody runs from him and doesn't want to help the shoeless man. And by the end, there's a twist to that one, and you learn why the shoeless man was being hunted in the first place.
Oh.
So, it became a lot more thematic, as my budget dropped. I wanted to, of course I wanted a bigger budget on it, and to really get into that suspense and thriller stuff. But, when I finally got my money in place and, what I had, it's we made I have to say, man, the crew that I put together in Arkansas, in case they, hear this, I'd like for them all to know, how great a job they did. I mean, we built a western town for $3,000.
Oh, wow.
And it had 9 buildings, that kind of thing. And those guys, I've never met a bunch of more hardworking people in my life. And we pulled off something I thought was really, really special. And that took me on and got me more work. And again, it's another little notch in the belt and make enough to be proud about.
Exactly right. Now you have one here. It's 2 names, Lalina or The Line, 2009.
Yeah. basically what happened was I made Sugar in, I think we finished that one up in like 2007, basically, and 2006. And I was out here and finishing up some posts, and Robert Miano, who is in both Sugar Creek and in Resurrection County, introduced me to some producers, and they had seen Sugar Creek and liked my work, and it was a really good script, and wanted to take my bite at Mexican drug cartels and that kind of story, and it was a bigger budget, like some things to play with,
right?
And next thing I know, we got Ray Liotta and Andy Garcia, Isai Morales, Danny Trejo, Amon Sante. I mean, this really sweet cast came on board. A woman named Ricky Masler, she actually was my first agent in Oklahoma.
All right.
And had cast me in a movie called Tuskegee Airmen back in the day, and she she was a fan of me, and the producers had their stuff together, and it was like a nice little magical pot that made the movie grow into something even different, even bigger, even better.
Sweet.
And and basically kind of what happened. I mean, I was back in Arkansas, and some guys out there, Mike Hart and Greg Hartman, had seen Sugar, and knew that I was making movies out there, and they were really interested in making movies. So they asked me to come on, and figure out what kind of movie we could make, which ended up being Resurrection County. And so I was writing that and helping get the money, and I had a friend that was working on, he was my UPM on Sugar, named Matt Yeager. And Matt Yeager was, like he and I were horror aficionados, I should have actually cut that out. I didn't say it right. But, we're real fans of horror movies, Matt Yeager and I, so, I knew that I had a good partner there to, help me really tweak the intensity of the script and get the story to what I wanted it to be. So, those guys were, doing their thing, getting the money up, and then the guys in California were getting their money up. R.L. Frazier and then Jeffrey Ross were the producers on La Linea. And so while those two things were going down, basically they, got funded at the same time, and I had to make a choice.
Right.
What was I going to do? It's a hard choice. It's a hard choice. When you write something and it's personal. The story of Resurrection County actually happened to me. The first part of them driving through, and I'll give stuff away, but the naked guy with the AK-47.
Yeah.
That actually happened to me. So it was a very personal story. Something that I was like, thinking for years, what would happen if I had really ticked those guys off,
Yeah, really.
So that was where Resurrection County came from, and I came on to direct La Linea, and at the same time, a bunch of my friends had known Matt Patel, and introduced me to him, and I sent him out to Greg and to Mike Hart and those guys, and said, look at this guy's work, and see if he would, fit what you guys are looking for, and they loved it, of course, and Matt came on, and I think he did an amazing job, just an excellent job with the directing of the film. So,
Yes, he did. I was impressed with Resurrection County. Let's go ahead and get it done.
All right.
Love this movie. So,
well, Resurrection County, like I said before, the story's something that, was very personal to me in the idea that, there are people out there, there are there are still unknowns in the world.
yes.
And while, the world gets bigger and the technology and, the way we're connected, you think that it's getting, broader and there's no more secrets, but sure enough there are. You get into the backwoods and you don't know what you don't know what the motivation, what the politics are, what the religion and belief system is, and these guys that were living out in the middle of nowhere, and it's in Oklahoma actually, but it was kind of interconnected to that whole line of David Koresh and the Nick Bay thing.
Yep. And
I was just always kind of fascinated with what the belief structure of that was, and for me, thinking in horror, I find more horror in truth.
Yes. Very true.
So, I didn't want to write something that was your basic, redneck hillbillies, inbreds, crazy, over-the-top thing. I think that the truth is actually more fascinating. And to play with, a thing that tends to be a theme in my movies is that the area that's in the center of right and wrong, the gray, is so much more full of story. Because, there is no right or wrong, and there is justification or rationale for the reasons that we do the things that we do.
Yep.
So I really wanted to play the campers, with Adam Huss and Dayton Knoll and Captain Michelle and Casey, Cassie. Watch that one too.
It's all right.
But Cassie Self, watching, letting them go out into this, just regular camping trip, something that we all do. Something, I also was kind of fascinated with the fact that nobody had ever done that 4-wheeler story,
And there's something else you did too that was different.
Yeah, I know that everybody in the South does that. We all go out and ride 4-wheelers out in the woods, and again, you don't know what's out there.
Yep.
You don't know what you can run up on. You just don't know. I've done it in Mississippi and Georgia, and I freak myself out when I go out there and I do that kind of thing. But it's that's part of the story.
Well,
so
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. My fault.
So when you have these 4 people that are just wanting to camp, but they all come with their own cross to bear, their own sin. The character Adam plays is Tommy. It's he's kind of full of himself and not knowing where he wants to take the relationship with Lucy, and so you have that dynamic. She's pregnant, and now he's kind of being forced into something that he's being forced into an unknown that he's scared of.
Right.
And then you have Dayton's character, Sam. He's the guy that we even played it off there. He gets lost in the beginning just on the road.
Yep.
And so of course when he finds out about his sister being pregnant in this whole situation, he goes off on the 4-wheeler, and what's he going to do but get lost?
Yep.
Don't drive angry.
Yes.
So he goes out into the woods, and Tommy goes following, so that we can get into what their friendship is, just in time to be lost again and happen upon the first shack.
Yep.
And even at that point, the backwoods people aren't bad. They're just there. They're just doing their thing. They're minding their own business. And you've happened into their world. And
tourists.
Instead of going along with it, instead of just being on their terms, they get into it. It's up when the tweaker guy comes in, Billy. But it's and that's what the whole movie was for Matt and I. It's just to keep the escalation going. Let the first event happen, and then once that first event happens, you're off to the races, and we're going to build and build and build and build and build until you get to the end.
Well made.
And yeah, thanks, man. I really appreciate what you said about it. It's that's what we were going for. That was the goal. to make a movie. We were all fans, Greg and I and Yeager and of Wolf Creek and what they were able to do on such a low budget.
Love that movie.
And the escalation in that movie, while it happens much later than I think ours, once it happens, it's it's down the rabbit hole.
Right.
And we wanted that kind of same vibe. But I love the fact that as they're dealing with Stag, who's that first guy at the shack.
Yep.
He's mad and gives chase, and there's a point in there where you think that maybe the movie's ended because they've dealt with Stag, and Stag is just the beginning. That was another thing that I really wanted to play with. It's just that again, you think one thing's done, and then the escalation happens yet again. Stag's not one guy; he's a whole town of people.
Exactly. But now I'm sorry. I mean,
and I was just going to say at that point, it drops into almost hostile in Arkansas.
Yeah. There is one scene in that movie that I've probably never seen in a movie. Now, if my memory serves me right, is the scene where he puts the gun in her mouth.
Awesome. There was two scenes that that I had in my head early in the for this movie, and that was one of them. That one and the sawhorse.
Oh, well, yeah. I'm not going to say that. That's going to be a surprise if ones didn't see it. I'm not going to say anything. Good scene, by the way. That was very creative. Very creative.
Oh, I had those two scenes in my head, and I mean, Yeager helped me tweak them out even more, and Yeager basically came up with a lot of the horror elements, beyond that, like the thing that happens to Dayton's character Sam, yep. and to Cassie's character. So, not Cassie, I'm sorry, Catherine Shell. And I totally dug what those are complete Yeager, and that's the kind of twisted man that he is too.
Well, a twisted man, I'm impressed. Like I said before, the three of you, Matt, and you. See, you got two Matts. How about that? The movie.
And we had.
Go ahead.
Here's the other thing. We had two Matts, and then Mike Hart was the executive producer. Greg Hartman was the producer DP, and Mike Hill was another producer on it. He was the kind of production producer. So names got kind of confusing around those parts.
Now, let me ask you one quick question. Now, you have the ranger, park ranger, mm-hmm. Very unique character. When you first see him, you basically almost already know that something's not right. And I love how you did it, because it also made you think, okay, maybe he is legit. But then it turns out that, very creative story.
Oh man, thanks. That character was played by Dan Cruz, who plays my lead in Sugar Creek.
Oh, okay.
And I've always wanted to see Dan do something a little more, little more caricature. Because he's off.
Yep.
He's just enough off that you wonder. But it's all part of that same process of the escalation.
And the sunglasses. I've seen old-fashioned sunglasses the whole movie. Very creative. You noticed that? Right?
Hey, look, and I gotta, credit's got to go where credit's due. Matt Zattel took those characters that were on those pages, and worked with those actors and totally, twisted them right into the right place.
Yes.
I mean, he did he deserves, so much credit for that movie, and he did an amazing job with I was involved in the process of pulling together all the talent, and like I said, I was writing roles for Adam Huss, and I wrote roles for, Dayton Knoll, and even Robert Miano playing the parson was an idea really early in the state, in the writing itself. So, like pulling what I know of those guys and what I know they're capable of was easy, but for Matt to take those words and, play off the emotion exactly correctly for the, each and every beat that happens in that movie. I mean, how about Catherine Michelle? I mean, how about an arc for her?
Yes.
She did an amazing job.
She did.
And, Adam Huss was, the guy's a big movie star waiting to happen,
I agree.
And I think that, giving him that opportunity to be the lead and to play an arc himself, from going from, selfish to broken, to the part that you see, the love and the way that he feels about people. I mean, there's a really great scene in there, I think, is one of my favorites, actually, the way that Greg shot it. The scene where Adam and Dayton are just stuck in the woods and the trucks are all around them.
Yes.
And it's a break, and it's a moment of drama in the middle of, chaos. But it's really, two friends who, do care and do love each other, and no matter what, their stupid life and the things that are going on, in real world, deeply care about one another. And that scene just like, it grabs me every time I watch the thing.
Yep. And Scooter made me want to punch him.
Scooter, I'll tell you a story. Scooter is a good friend of mine. His name's Jake Bartol. And Jake, is another guy that's, we used to joke around. My roommate out here still calls him Jason Statham of the South. And because he's just great. And I met him on Cumberly Morning, this movie that I acted in. I was a casting director for Joey Lauren Adams with Ashley Judd and Jeffrey Donovan, and really, really amazing movie, great cast. And I met Jake out there. He was a locations manager, and I became really good friends with him. And so I actually kind of wrote that role for Jake. That was easy, and Jake has gone on. Jake is he's not part of the band, but he's setting up the equipment, kind of the roadie for the Zach Brown band.
Yeah. Okay.
And he plays a character called Floaty Boatwood, like in their music videos. If you ever get a chance to check out Jake doing that stuff, it's hilarious. I mean, like he's on a big yacht with Kid Rock for like half this video. It's hilarious.
And that whistle, he does.
that Jake brought to it.
Yes, he did.
That was Jake's. That was a complete Jake call. So and I thought that just built the tension even more.
Yep. And Russ Blackwell did a hell of a job too. We talked about him earlier.
Yeah, Russ, man. Russ was a friend of Dan Cruz. They both were actors in Florida. So Dan, was the one that really introduced Russ to us, and that even happened a little later in the process than my involvement. So Russ came in there, and wow, that guy is stacked completely.
Heck yeah.
I get so amazed at like what people actually when you write characters and you have certain things envisioned, and Russ gave that guy so much more dimension and actually made you respect him.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that was something that I didn't even know was written into the Stag character, but Russ brought that. That's something that Matt and Russ came up with and found and did.
He needs to be in more movies like this because he is very good at it.
Totally.
He is very good at it. Now, I'm trying to think here now. I'm trying to get my memory straight here. The big guy, the real big guy. You know what I'm talking
was
about?
that Jason the tall?
Yes, the real big one. The one that was in the seahorse scene. Had him, what we talked about earlier. What's the character's name?
Yeah, that's the Parsons kid.
Yeah.
He's played by Jason Davis.
Okay, yeah, he is huge. Cody.
He's a big guy. Cody.
Holy
cow. He's a big guy, and what a great actor, right? I mean,
oh, jeez.
I'll give you a story on Jason. So, Jason plays music around the Fayetteville area, and we had a mutual friend named Heather Fallon that brought Jason in to audition for Joey Lauren Adams on Come Early Morning, and I got the tape, and I was like, oh my God, this is the motel guy. It was totally.
Yep.
So I took it to Joey, and she cast him like that. It was done. It's like the most natural, best ability to bring a tough Southern,
Yes.
tough Southern, tough Arkansas, and I was just like, wow, this guy's got such talent, and so I wrote a role for him in Sugar Creek, and then we basically wrote this role for him. Yeager knew him because they run around the same Fayetteville places together, and so that was really easy to write, that role, for Cody to be Jason, and and give him a lot more meat, and and an arc himself, because I don't think you really see that one coming.
No.
I think that one's a surprise.
Oh, you're going to die. You'll know when. He was great.
I always wondered what it'd be like to be Jesus nailed up there on that cross. Shit hurts, don't it?
And he kneels down to him when he's on that seahorse. That's what I call it. And he says, what did he say? He said, I told you. I'm nice to you. And what do you do? It's good movie. Good cast. I mean, like you said, how it was made, it goes from one to another, to another. And then when I say confused, I don't mean it in a mean way. I meant now whoever watches this movie has no idea what's coming next.
Oh man, I really, I'm stoked to hear you say something like that. I think that that's what we all, try to do as filmmakers. Anybody who's out there trying to, make their movies is, really trying to grab the audience, and that's the best way that we could figure out how to do it. Greg, when he came to me and he wanted to make Resurrection County, he was really about that Wolf Creek thing, and something that was real and gritty and hard, and trying to find what's right about horror.
Right.
And what actually works, and and that was the goal, and Matt and I writing the script was like, let's make sure that we just keep amping it, so that when these characters start revolving and twisting, one thing that was really important to Yeager and I was the idea of who's going to die and when.
Oh.
Because I think that becomes so cliche. It's just like it's one of those old things. It's like sure enough, the black dude's going to die second, and the whiny girl's going to go first, and or the tough athletic kid,
yeah,
whichever one, and it's like that's you can almost tell and they almost put too much into it where you can read it coming, and Matt and I were really wanting to make you think at different points, because that's part of their arcs, part of the characters' arcs is they all find strength at some point,
right?
So Tommy, finding strength and at some certain point, doesn't mean that he's actually going to live. Same with Lucy, or I mean, our favorite one, I think, was the Cassie character, and the fact that she was like the one that really had it together, where the rest of them all had problems.
Yes.
And where to put something happening to her, which I'll be like, hell, I mean, you can give that one away. It's like, it's the fact that
Right.
she's going to go first, and in such a horrible way that you just really don't know what's
that blew me away.
how somebody's going to go next. I mean, that's like, wait, that's first. Oh,
The ending was the most creative way that when you're watching the movie, see, I got to be careful because I don't want to give anything away. I'm glad we're not, because the movie, people have to see this movie. I mean, if anybody watches the movie and goes away and says they don't like it, then they're complete buffoons. Seriously. But the ending was so, I was like, it makes you sit there and say, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? You get what I'm saying?
Right.
I said, dude, you're just. But the end, I'm telling you, the old guy that driving the truck, you couldn't find a better person to play that role because he looked creepy.
Here's the thing, okay? Like another thing, like that's Grizz Hayhurst, guy who thinks Grizz, and Grizz was my production designer on Sugar Creek. And he was really involved in the art team of Rez too. Yeager ended up doing a lot of the production design. He was a production designer, but Grizz was like perfect for that. We were like, that's our guy. Let Grizz do that part.
That's good.
I mean, again, and that's another thing too, particularly when you're like, for indie filmmakers out there, trying to make their movies out in different places and all that stuff, is like, write for what you got, write for what you know, build things around the, people, because like, that part, even with Grizz, it's like, I know what Grizz can do, I know what Grizz is capable of, I know how Grizz looks. He's, he is the perfect way to end that movie.
Excellent.
So let's, write that way, write with like the idea that the actors that and what they're capable of.
Right.
Because that will come off the way, the way that it was intended. And like I said, now I don't want to take anything away. It's like, Littell and the actors really came up with a whole bunch of stuff themselves and made the movie better.
Yeah.
But the best thing for any writer on anything is when the story is there the way that you intended it to be. It also probably helped that my writing partner was like, doing the production design and was pretty intimately involved in the production part too. So like, but Greg and I early on, went out and there's a place called Fort Chaffee, and it's where I actually was in Tuskegee Airmen. And it was an old closed down military base. And, we started getting our locations out there. So a lot of the chase sequence you see there in the end when Cody's chasing Tommy and Lucy.
Yeah.
That's all happening out there on the fort. And, and Greg and I knew exactly what, where that was all going to go down. Where the things were going to be done to be built.
Right.
And it gave it such good production value. I mean, like, for the amount of money that they made this thing for, amazing. And that's part of the role. I mean, like, like when you go in and you're making movies for, the low budget range, low budget horror, why not, like look at it still as a big movie and find the best production value places that you can possibly do. So it doesn't come off looking cheap. And I will tell you, like, Resurrection County, I don't think at one point looks like a cheap, indie movie.
Right.
They shot that thing with with all kinds of production value, and did a really good job.
I was pleased. Now, Robert Miano, I talked to you off the air before we got started. That his role with the glasses and the preacher type, I love what he said to the sheriff. Or I'm not going to give too much away, but he says, "You just couldn't leave it alone." Very good actor.
Robert Miano is amazing. He is not tapped enough for the talent that man has. And he's been tapped quite a bit if you look at his credits. I mean, the dude's been in everything. It's like, again, it's very easy to write for what you know, and I Robert came into Sugar Creek to play Pete St. Clair, this old ranch hand that everything's dying around him, and he's just losing his mind, and played that to the hilt. So, I knew that we could get Robert, and I knew that he'd come out and do a bang up job, and Robert was like, so good in that, and he really gets into it, and he really investigates things, and if you find the parts where, he's part Amish and part, religious zealot,
yep,
part, sociopath, who also loves his family and his people.
Yep.
How can you go wrong? How can you go wrong with that as your villain?
Let the boys have
and he doesn't even have to get his hands dirty.
Yeah. His one line, he says, "Let the boys have fun for one night."
Right.
Oh boy, you call that fun?
The tire scene, and I mean, something that get people to go out and buy or rent the movie, find the movie. That tire sequence. That was another one that was in my head because that actually had happened in a town not too far from me, where I grew up. That there was a sheriff, and they were running meth everywhere and whatever else, and the sheriff just went missing. And years later, they found his ring and a stack of burnt tires.
Oh.
So that's where that sequence came from.
Okay.
I really like it. I really like the way that plays out, and particularly with the way they shot it. I mean, Greg did a great job there too. I mean, Greg did a great job with everything, but it's that scene with the fire burning and the parson standing there in the middle of it, and looking like the devil himself,
Yep. Now, what was so weird about that movie for me is I'm in the tire business. I mean, I deliver tires, so every time I see tires in a movie, right, I'm trying to see what brand they are. Oh, what? That is so bad. I mean, I've been doing it for 11 years, so it's like it's instinct. Oh, what brand is that? Oh God, Scott, stop. But yeah, but the in the beginning it talks about the first sheriff, and it doesn't go into detail, but that was so cruel. That was so cruel. I ain't saying no more. That was cruel.
Well, I mean, that to me is that's for
Yep.
Imagine if you're in that guy's position, and I'm really happy with what Yeager and I came up with in all those death sequences. I mean, I think those things really, really work.
Yes, they do.
And it all plays right into the tone and the thing. I mean, I think some of the characters, like the parson, gets a little preachy and whimsical, and and then where all the campers are very real world. They talk like real people. I mean,
Yep.
you might as well know that that's your neighbor. There's nothing special about them. They're almost from Nowhereville, although they all have accents kind of that are intermixing.
Right.
And they're walking into a place where everybody has accents and everybody has a story. And, you know, the most important thing for us in the writing and in the making of the film and was, you know, to play with those lines, the lines between good and evil. And, you know, while you don't, I mean, I know I might be repeating myself a little bit, but
no, that's all right.
You know, the idea that if somebody, you know, goes out and, you know, and casts the first stone, which was, I mean, you know, as they're driving through the town and they almost hit those kids.
Yep.
You know, I mean, there's like lots of bantering about what they just saw, you know, and they're totally casting the stones at these people.
Yep.
And then they make their tragic mistake, which is getting mad at each other.
Yes.
Which leads to him going to the first shack and trying to find his way out of this place, which leads them right into trouble.
Yep.
And once the trouble starts, you know, you're on this path, and you know, and these are not, you know, inbred backwoods hillbilly characters that were, you know, that have been kind of almost monster-sized, I guess, or I don't know how to say that, but like, you know, where they just like become monsters, caricatures, things that are going to come get you. You know, these people are, you know, they love one another, they care about one another, they have a point of view. These people wrong them first. So once you wrong us, it's eye for an eye. And, you know, I mean, while, you know, the civilized world can say, you know, that's still wrong, which it is, but, you know, it's like they still had a point of view, and they were following that point of view the entire time.
Yep.
You know, we have one reviewer, like, that, you know, completely sided with the backwoods people, you know. I was like, wow, that's kind of scary. But,
yeah.
You know, I mean, you know, to each their own in the way that you see the world, but you know, that's what movies are there for to me. I mean, movies are you know, whether it's horror or drama or thriller or whatever, it's like it's a mirror to see these people and then, you know, judge ourselves by what we think they're doing. So, you know, in this movie, you know, you can mirror out on both sets of characters, whether, you know, they're still set up as the good guys and the bad guys, but, you know, you still, if you understand the bad guy, he's even scarier.
Right. Now,
because he made you understand him, you know?
Yeah. Now, I don't want to switch real quick, but let's go into that Madison County.
Yeah. So I'm an executive producer on this movie called Madison County.
Right.
You know, go figure that I'm involved in another county movie.
County.
Something scary about those counties.
Just don't do a movie called Lancaster County, okay? That's all I asked.
But there's a guy that went to my film school named Eric England, just a great guy and a very talented filmmaker. You know, I've been watching his shorts, kind of like, you know, giving him advice and listening to what he wanted to do, and he's a you know, big horror guy, and you know, Madison County seemed like the next logical step for him, and he, you know, he's gone out there with some friends, Daniel Dunn and Dunn Wright Productions, and another guy named Ace, and Levi. Those guys are you know, helping him produce it, helping him make the thing happen. They pulled off some pretty major coups, I think, in getting Rob Hall and Almost Human special effects, which you know, Rob's done so many things. You know, like he's directed some movies like Lightning Bug, and you know, everybody in the horror world knows Rob Hall.
Right.
You know, and for him to come on board and pull out the guns to give some special effects to these guys with their you know, indie horror film, to, you know, like up the production value to well past whatever the dollars spent are, and you know, wow, you know, you got Nick Principe, who, you know, is a big horror guy himself, and he's going to be the bad guy in this thing, and it's a bad guy unlike anything you've really ever seen before, because it's a bad guy who just, you know, it's a it's a guy in the woods that is taking out his past on people that come into his place, and the people of Madison County, have gotten used to it and don't do anything about it. So there's where the real horror happens.
Now, there's a cool tagline. Did you ever see it? Tagline says, "If you're here, you're already dead."
Yep.
The plot. A group of college kids travel to a small mountain town called Madison County to interview the author. Sweet. Now, when is this going to be released, or did you hear anything on it?
I'm flying out next week. I'm actually playing a part in it.
Right.
I'm kind of a soothsayer character, and I'll just leave it at that.
Right.
But they're having, I'm flying out next week. I think we're starting shooting here in the next couple of days.
Sweet.
And looking for a 3-week shoot, 4-week shoot, something like that, and then get into the cutting. I would guess that it'll be ready sometime probably in 6 months, something like that.
Sweet, can't wait.
So you see what see what kind of deal they can pull off, and look, such talented guys, and like I said, pulling off all these favors. My God, this is indie filmmaking in its finest, and when you find these talented guys to do this stuff, Eric's got a long career ahead of him.
Yep. When you see it says genre, it says horror, mystery, and thriller. Right then and there, it tells you got to see it.
That's the way Eric and I think. That's for sure.
Yep.
Heck, I want to do things any movie that I do, I think that it just needs its horror elements, because those are the things that are going to drive you forward. Those are the things that creep you out and make you want to stay with it. Because once you throw one horror element into it, it's like everything else is open.
Now that you mention this movie, now you have to make sure you let me know when it's finished, and give me a heads up so I can get a jump start. Okay?
Sure.
It looks interesting. All right. Well,
yeah, man. Let me, and keep up with it too. Again, these guys amaze me. They started this whole little marketing campaign. Got a Facebook page up. Anybody into horror, go check out their Facebook page. It's okay. Madison County. I think you should Madison County and search and find it. But
I will add it before we get off here.
Yeah. And the marketing campaign, it makes that much more, easy and cool to get out. So, everybody go check that out, and they will keep up with it. They're running little videos while they're making it, just them getting ready and stuff, and it's a neat thing. Hey, this is James Cotten. I'm a director, writer, producer. You're listening to Gruesome Herzog Horror Movie Reviews.